Hello, everybody. It's Omega. Today we are talking about. I'm going to get on with my dear friend Ariel, who is the co-founder of Ova Moon Supplements, and she is requesting to be on right now. Just waiting for her. She is amazing. Ariel and I met many years ago, and she is my go-to. Ariel, why don't you try joining again? It says you declined, but she is my go-to when I'm like having questions about my menstrual cycle and how to match my menstrual cycle with food and things like that. So, Ariel, if you could try joining again, that would be awesome. And then we can get started. Awesome. Getting you back in here, Ariel. I cannot wait. So she is my go-to, and it says we're connecting. Hi, love.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Great.
So good to see your face. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be having this conversation with you.
Me too.
I'm an Omega fan and I love your fitness work and I love watching your videos. And so, yeah, I'm
Oh,
really
thanks,
cool.
hon. Yay. Yay. So I was just telling our people that we have viewing right now, well, two of them, you and me, and two others, how we met and stuff like that, and that you're my go-to when I need to complain about my period.
Glad I can be of service.
Yeah, me too. Um, so exercise in the menstrual cycle. I never
Yeah.
followed any of that until recently. And I know you said that you organize your running and dancing practice around your menstrual cycle, and it's really
Yeah,
inspiring me to do similar things.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you want to start off by talking about the phases and kind of like what happens in each phase, both hormonally, and then I can kind of weigh in with exercise. I have some notes here too.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll start doing that and I also have notes because I wanted to really make sure I had it together here.
Me too.
And so we can kind of like geek out together. And I think the first place to start is exactly what you said, just to even educate those of us with menstrual cycles that there are phases of the menstrual cycle, um, and that we are different physiological beings than men. And so there are a few things, right? Some basic things to know. One of them, right, is that certainly about the circadian rhythm, 24 hours, that men that's their predominant rhythm. And we
Hmm.
women also are living on the circadian rhythm, but we have what's called an infradian rhythm, which is our menstrual cycle, and
Hmm.
that's a 20-day cycle. So we're on our 24-hour cycle and then on our 28-day cycle. And so
Right.
it's really important that we understand that we have this whole other layer operating in our system. And within that infradian rhythm of the menstrual cycle, there are four phases. And
Hmm.
so we've got menstruation. We all know that one because that's when we bleed and we're like, oh. And then we've got our follicular phase, which follows menstruation. Then we have our ovulatory phase, and then we have our luteal phase, and then we menstruate again. And so those are our four phases. And the prevailing wisdom, right, is like work out hard, work out strong to get the results you want.
Right.
And
Of course.
basically, and that's how you lose weight. And that if we can't do that or it feels hard, we feel like, oh, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm lazy,
Yeah.
wrong. Like last week, it was not an issue, and now like Omega is like kicking my ass, and I'm just like so exhausted. What's wrong with me? And so understand
Right.
that actually biochemically we change four times. I mean, we're changing every day, but we can kind of communicate
Hmm.
four different ways.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, anything to add or do you want
Well, I would really agree that during that, especially prior to the cycle, and we'll get more into this, but prior to the cycle, we really have to honor where we're at in our bodies and having a physiological understanding of what happens in our bodies makes us more compassionate beings. So, and that's ultimately what we try to do when we're thinking about either our goals or what I like to call set points or your highest visions for your body. That what does that look like in your day to day? Are you killing yourself every day? No, you're taking breaks. What do you want your life to be like? So I think that following your cycle gives you this really nice, in personal training we call it periodization, where we increase the volume and then we decrease the volume. So training cycles look like waves, right? Nothing is static. So also knowing that we can plan as women, we can actually use estrogen, which actually helps release fatty acids, PS. So we can use estrogen and and get to our fitness goals as we follow our natural cycles. And there's actually, in my research, Ariel, I ran across a study that specifically used exercise to help menstruating women lose weight, and they modified their exercise and their caloric intake throughout their cycle. So,
Totally.
yeah,
And get into it more because, this what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and
yeah,
to understand what's going on biochemically in each phase, I think is
yeah,
really important. And what you spoke to regarding the compassion piece, I think is critical because we're not
mm-hmm.
the same biochemically throughout our month. Yet most studies about how to exercise, when to exercise, for how
Mm-hmm.
we're done on men or on postmenopausal women. And then the studies that were done on women were done in their follicular phase, which is when estrogen and testosterone are really on the rise. And
Right.
so, but that's only half of the time. And so,
Mm-hmm.
how we exercise in our follicular phase, which is the phase after menstruation, the first
Yeah.
2 cycle, um, is much more about how we were socialized to exercise, right? Go hard,
Right.
go strong, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and in the first half of the cycle, what you were saying, because of estrogen, we can burn fat more easily. I'm just going to be looking at my notes because I want to make sure to represent this well. And we
Yeah.
can we can do more, eat more easily, and we can
Yeah.
also gain lean muscle. And if we have normal blood sugar, the body easily accesses the carbs for fuel. It
Mm-hmm.
increases energy, and we can crush it.
Right, right, where you can crush
Right.
it. And that's what the follicular phase is, that's what it's for. It's for like that outward expression. Like when we were talking about this earlier, you're like, it's springtime. And it's like,
Yes.
yeah, in springtime, like right now it's like overcast, but it was springtime when we were having that conversation. Everything was blooming. It was perfect. Also in the follicular phase, insulin levels are higher. Insulin levels are higher, so
Yes.
you can utilize glucose better. You can eat more carbs. And there was a 2014 study done in Germany at the Sports Medicine and Sports Nutrition facility at the Ruhr University, and they found in that study that the follicular phase is a better time for strength training, meaning that you're doing lower reps, more weight, and you can do HIIT during this time. You can do strength training, but it's a better time because you're able to utilize that glucose. Strength training relies on glucose and glycogen, stored muscle sugar, and the sugar that we take in our mouth. And so we're able to use that more efficiently, so we can take that week of our follicular phase, 7 to 14 days.
Well, yeah, the first half of the cycle, follicular through ovulation, so it's about
Yeah,
half full.
yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. Great opportunity. Go push some, shake it out.
yeah, exactly. And I would say that, yeah, everything you're saying, it's the time to go hard. It's the spring and summer of the body.
Hmm.
It's definite, and the bio that hormonal setup is such that we can do exactly what you said. And I would say though that if you have a missed period or you have an irregular cycle, and you're watching this or you end up watching this, it is important to notice that there can be a way that, a hormone imbalance can have an impact on endurance, and then that endurance can have an impact on hormonal imbalance. And so to also make sure that if that's happening, to maybe focus on healing your cycle first before you go
Yeah,
hard. Then your body, if you're maxing and taxing your adrenal
yeah,
glands, they're going to cortisol. They're going to be making you more anxious. They're going to be, all of that. And so I think
Yeah.
that's also an important part. Maybe we talk about the second half of the cycle because it's not quite as romantic.
Yeah. I do have a segue there for like, as somebody who definitely did overtrain, I lost my cycle because I overtrained. I didn't have a cycle for 6 years. I would have usually one a year, but wasn't cycling for 6 years. And in those 6 years, because I was training so heavily, so overtraining syndrome for sure, PCOS, adrenal fatigue, hypothyroid, all at one time. So if you like, and once my cycle came back, I still had to spend the early part of my 20s working through a lot of health stuff, but I was able to heal. So healing the cycle,
Is a
super
big
important.
I really hope I want you to do a post on this. We should.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
so
totally.
and to actually be able to reach your goals and have a healthy body where you're not
Hmm.
hating yourself for the way you look. I think we really romanticize professional athletes because they look so good, they're capable of so much. But then, the cases of osteoporosis or early osteoporosis or malnutrition, it's like, what is the point if you're
Yeah,
actually really healthy and you're miserable and you're having all these other health concerns? And I think that for those of us who are not trying to be professional athletes, there's a way
hmm,
that we can really do less and get more from our workouts. And I'm hoping that this Instagram live can really show our watchers how incredible it is that you can go, this is the thing. In the first half of your cycle, the way your hormones set you up, you want to go hard. Like, it feels good.
right.
Like, I would say that as a personality, I don't really like to run, for example, but when I'm in my follicular phase, it's 9 a.m. and I'm ready to rock. And I can do that
Yeah,
real hard. Like, I watched your video, the one of you exercising to that one song I really love.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, yes, like I want that, but then
yeah,
2 weeks later, hormonally has that impacts my metabolism, like you were saying, and my energy level. And suddenly that looks like, how is she doing that? That's so crazy. And so
right.
optimizing that, but there's a way that if we push and go hard, we're actually hurting our bodies. And so maybe we go
Hmm.
into in the second part of the cycle
Yeah.
when when the hormones peak at ovulation, follicular ovulation, and then they peak and then they start to drop, and how that
Hmm.
impacts our metabolism. And
Right.
so, yeah, basically, in the second half of the cycle, the metabolism speeds up, and it burns more calories, but that can actually have an opposite effect because if you push too hard, because of the
Yeah.
way that estrogen decreases and stimulates metabolism, you can actually pump out more cortisol. And cortisol
Hmm.
burns fat, fat storage, but yet it actually has a counterproductive. Um, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Okay, it
So
has a counter.
cortisol, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it does like in the moment, it'll be like, oh, like fat burn. And over time, it'll be like, oh, there's a lot of stress, fat storage around the important organs. And then we get belly fat, and you're like, why can't I have abs? It's stress.
Right. So the
Yeah.
first 30 minutes of a workout, your body is using the glucose in your body, but once that's used up, it needs to pull from somewhere. And so the adrenal glands let out cortisol, which has which releases the glucose, and so you can burn that. But what happens is if you have excess estrogen, which is the most dominant problem in for most women,
Hmm.
that and please chime in as like somebody who really knows the science, because
Yeah.
I've just been
I
reading a lot of it. It converts it back to fat. And so what you
so
burn, yes, please.
yeah. So yes, yes, it can convert it back to fat. And it does so like hormonally, like you're talking about, but also in the gut as well. So we clear all of our toxins, estrogens, whatever, through our bowel. We poop it out. And in the colon, if estrogen cannot be cleared in the colon, it's going to send it back to the liver, and it's going to have this cyclical effect. I've worked with women who have just been on supplements, and light exercise to help clear estrogen. I'm talking walking 20 minutes a day, that's it. And they're losing like 10 pounds a month just from clearing estrogen. And so super, 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 super important to clear estrogen.
I,
And you can also increase estrogen clearance with high fiber intake too, tolerating as much fiber as you can.
I love it. I actually want to talk to you more about that because I think that I know I struggle with estrogen dominance. Despite
Mm-hmm.
all the time, it's just something that I struggle with, and so I would love to learn more
Yeah.
about how to do. We should chat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We should definitely chat more.
Yeah. Um.
So
Cool.
can we talk a little bit more about what happens in the late part of the cycle, the luteal phase and metabolism? A study that I ran across in the same study out of Germany, those researchers gave their subjects, they were on a 1600 calorie diet throughout their cycle, but in the luteal phase, they were bumped up to 1800 calories and were allotted more fatty foods during that time. And these women actually lost weight while
Yeah.
on this program. Yeah.
And so because our metabolism speeds up in the second half of our cycle, we actually
Yeah.
need more food, and that is counterintuitive to the way we were taught. We were taught
Hmm.
always little as eat what you need and then exercise hard, but it's up to almost 300 calories a day that we can have more because our metabolism increases in the second phase, a second part of our cycle. And
Right.
so yeah, if you try to eat less, then your blood sugar is going to drop, which is going to
Hmm.
release. I mean, and maybe you can speak to the physiological effects of that, but
Oh,
hormonally
yeah.
over time, it leads to imbalance, excess estrogen, fat storage, you name it. And so I know it's really exciting now that I know that. After I ovulate in the second phase of my cycle, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have some extra nuts. Like, okay, like I'll have that extra bite of whatever. And I don't have to worry or feel
Yeah.
bad about it. In fact, no weight, no weight gain whatsoever.
Yeah. Of course not, because you're practicing deep listening and intuitive eating at that point too, which is incredibly, incredibly important. So in the study that I found, this is in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition, um, they said, and I would love to get the study that you read too, but they said that caloric expenditure is about 165 kilocalories more every day after in the luteal phase amongst an average group of women. I don't know how old the mean age was
Yeah.
or anything like that.
It
But
I've read it ranges from like 89 calories to about 289 or something like that,
wow,
um, on your metabolism.
that's
And so again,
significant.
it's significant. And I think though it's
Yeah.
important to know what to eat though, because even though your metabolism increases in the second part of your cycle, um, if you're not eating the right food, your blood sugar is going to spike and drop. And so it's just
Hmm.
important to be eating complex carbohydrates and to stay full throughout the day. Otherwise, in this luteal phase, in the second half of your cycle, when your blood sugar drops, plus all of your hormones are dropping, you're going to experience what we might know as PMS. And it's going to get exacerbated
What?
worse. Your blood sugar is dropping and spiking all over the place while your hormones are going. And so it's such a great way to balance your mood. You
Hmm.
cannot eat the same way in this phase. And I think there's a way that this is the do less phase. And I'm hoping though we can talk a little bit about how to exercise in the luteal phase because
Yeah.
I know how to exercise in my follicular and ovulatory phases. But in the week and a half, 2 weeks before my period, again, because of the hormonal drop and the metabolism shift, I don't have the same amount of energy, and
Right.
yet I want to stay active. And
Hmm.
I'm curious, like, yeah, in terms of resistance training, flexibility, restoring, like how does someone who's listening to this, who's like, okay, wow, I have phases, like, how do I
Yeah.
make those
Yeah.
shifts?
Yeah. Okay. So, uh, first phase, first like 2 weeks after your menstruation, strength training. Okay, after that, and you can handle heavier cardio in that phase too, because you have more testosterone, right? So there's more opportunity for more energy expenditure during that time. So if you would lay in bed all day, you'd burn slightly less calories. But if you use the biological advantage that you have at that time, you can actually burn more calories. Not to keep this focused on calories, because whatever calories numbers don't exist, right? But after that, in the luteal phase, so at the end of the luteal phase, estrogen actually gives you more opportunity to burn more fat. And so, especially at the end, so at the end, you might not be feeling like exercise. Well, walking is the best fat burning exercise, period. There is no argument. Walking while your blood sugar is fairly low. So morning walks, low intensity, 30 minutes to an hour, be in a nice place. That's the best thing during that time because you have more fatty acid oxidation power. And
Wow.
that favors low and slow exercise. Yeah. So when you don't feel like exercising, don't. What'd you say?
Less is more. Well, no, finish what you were gonna say. Sorry.
Yeah. I can't remember what I was gonna say, but less is more. Totally.
Less is more in this time, and it's such a relief, to when you tell me that, in the handful of days before my period, if I'm going on a walk in the morning, that is
Yeah.
actually what that and what's keeping my body functional. Because if I'm really tuning in to my body, that's actually what I really want to be doing. I just feel
I know,
bad, like,
right?
oh, I could be going really hard. But there was a 2003 study in Sports Magazine that women reach exhaustion faster in the mid and late luteal phase than in
Yeah.
the first half of the cycle. So we
Yeah.
we actually like can't make the same gains in our luteal phase in the weeks before our period than we can in the
Hmm.
follicular. So like the focus on like losing weight and gaining lean muscle in the traditional sense that we were taught is really in this first part of the cycle before ovulation. That's
Yeah.
when those hard work, endurance training, the cardio that we were programmed to think is what leads to results actually leads to results. And then it's post ovulation, pre menstruation, that we can take it more easy. We can still do a lot of resistance training, and I'm curious for some exercises because I know I'm looking for them personally.
Yeah.
What does that look like in the luteal phase? Not like the early part of the luteal phase, like after
Hmm.
ovulation, before kind of the big dip in hormones happens.
Hmm.
And that's when we can take it easy and actually, like you said, see results, which is
Right.
amazing. It's such a
Yeah.
relief.
I know it is a relief. It is. And when I started looking at this stuff, I was thinking about like my own exercise flow, and I'm like, oh, I kind of follow that intuitively because at this point, like I know my body well enough to know that I don't have to go hard all the time, that I can take maybe like a day out of the week and go hard. But even when I think about that, it's like some weeks I don't feel like going hard, and oh, that's why. Okay, cool. But even as an exercise professional, that was like totally not in my awareness um, until recently. So to your point, like in the luteal phase, the early luteal phase, how to exercise. So if you're at a 10 with strength training, bring it down to like a 5, and then you're back down at a 1. So what does that look like? It can look like if you're doing like we can talk about strength training. So strength training, if you're lifting weights at one point and you're doing 8 to 10 reps max, that's all you can lift because you're lifting really heavy. You could take that down to 15 to 20 reps. So that's one way. Just decreasing the load. Lift less heavy, but lift a little longer is one way. If you're doing high intensity training cardio here and you're doing like 30 seconds on, 1 minute off, you could do here. You can make it a little less intense and go for 1 minute and then rest, take off 2 to 3 minutes. Or at the luteal phase, if you still have the energy for strength training and high intensity cardio, You could do what are called Wingate sprints, which is sprinting as hard as you can, either on a bike, on a rower, on the ground, whatever. Sprint as hard as you can for as long as you want to, and then break for as long as you want to.
Yeah.
And doing 6 sets of that has actually been shown to increase muscle fiber size in the glutes and the quads. If you do it uphill, then that's all glutes, baby. That's all glutes. So like there's an idea. It's like say the first part of your cycle is like you're rigid, and as you're coming down, as your hormones are shifting after ovulation, then there's an opportunity to take a more intuitive approach. Like I want to still exercise hard, but I might need more breaks. So an example for running, if one is into running, they might do like I can do like 7 miles here, but when I'm after ovulation, I know that I'm good for 5 miles. So you're just taking the endurance down a little bit. And then in the late luteal phase prior to menstruation, I would say at that point it's like focus on low and slow activities. Like if you still want to do weightlifting, that's fine. But we're talking about 20 reps. We're talking about lots of breaks in between. Yin yoga, obviously great. Morning walks, that's my go-to, you know. So, and then you cycle back up. And with that, you give your body an opportunity, a break to recover, and your mind to fall back in love with whatever training you want to do.
Really.
Yeah.
As you were saying
Yeah.
that, I could breathe while I was listening to that. Sometimes when health coaches and fitness coaches will be telling me like what I can do, I'm like, okay, like let me write that down. Oh no. And when you were talking, I just noticed like there's such a permission that isn't a bypass. It's not like, oh, therefore do nothing. And I think that's the fear we have. Like, oh, if I get
Yeah.
permission from the professional to do less, then I won't do anything. Like, I need that professional to go really hard on me and push me. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a way that part of, I think, what it is, why this is so powerful, especially as women right now, that we get to what it means to listen to our body and to have a professional actually say that listening, your body is telling you what it needs and you're not going to get fat. Like there is
Yeah.
actually a program in you that tells you, and you'll know when you want to run a bunch of miles, and you'll know
Mm-hmm.
when it's time to rest. And it's actually a huge reframe. I was fantasizing this morning that you and I should write a book called Don't Just Do It.
Oh,
Like,
I love that.
yeah, let's not
I love
just
it.
do it. Yeah, it's that's not that, because we are different physiological beings, but also the science backs up what we're saying. If
Yeah.
you push more than 30 minutes and your hormones aren't balanced, or you don't have enough, carbohydrates and fuel in your body, your adrenals are going to pump out that cortisol. You're going to gain weight, even if it fat
Yeah.
burns, the estrogen's going to get back in.
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
you won't want to reach the results that we actually want to accomplish. It's
Yeah.
actually about understanding these 4 phases of the menstrual cycle, and then
Hmm.
within it, optimizing with these different interval trainings and regimens that you're offering, and adjusting them to where we're at. That's how we get the results we want, and we don't
Yeah.
compromise our mental health.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. Huge. Yeah, that
huge.
piece is huge. We could have another whole live on the mental health piece and really
Yeah,
tie into
totally.
oneself.
Yeah, we could. Well, I really appreciate this. This was awesome. I
Yeah.
like getting us thinking differently, both about our personal and professional lives. I know for Ovamoon,
Hmm.
like as a supplement, we originally just viewed it as hormones and giving the body the nutrients it needs, and it's been incredible. And of course, for change to really happen, it's so important that our lifestyle choices match it. And we were not given this information growing up, and so
Yeah,
we
true.
get to know. And even if the only takeaway from this call is that the people watching are like, oh, okay, my cycle is 4 phases, and I need to now go and understand how to exercise differently in each
Hmm.
phase if I want the result. to match my like desire, that would be enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Absolutely. And and if anything, it's just deep listening to the body. What does the body want today? You know, absolutely. Can you
And
tell,
I
go on.
please, I
Oh,
was
I
just
was
going to
just,
say something about I was going to say something about the word intuition.
uh,
um, that sometimes that word, I think people roll their eyes a little bit, like, oh, some like felt sense. But I really see intuition as a combination of understanding like what the physiologically what the body is saying, and that there's actually a real scientific backing to this concept, and that most of the time we operate from what has been told us on the outside we should do, and to take the time to notice what's going on biochemically, what's going on physiologically, matched with the information I've been given. That's really what I think we mean by intuition. It's not some like, oh, the breeze is blowing, like I think it's this today. No, like based on biochemistry and what I'm noticing matches up in my body to that information,
hmm
I have a very clear message how to be, and that can be cultivated. And so I just want to define intuition, at least for myself here, that it isn't some like woo woo concept. It's a really real thing of the marriage between research and body sensation. Yeah.
yeah, that's beautifully said.
And the
Beautifully said.
the active, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to ask you to tell people that don't know you where to find Ovamoon and anything special happening with Ovamoon.
Cool. Yeah. So we have our website, ovamoon.com. And for any of you listening, we can give you the Stay Healthy special, which would give you $10 off the first 3 months. And you can subscribe online or buy one-time bottle, ovamoon.com. And it's this incredible supplement that we spent many, many years creating and thinking about each phase of the cycle and what the body needs, and really specifically focusing on regulating the cycle and PMS prevention.
Mm,
It's a multivitamin in that it has almost everything you're going to need, and it's packed with vitamin B and magnesium and iron and copper, also stuff for immunity like selenium and zinc and vitamin C. Again, a lot
wonderful.
of research was done for this product, and I think the best thing I can say is that I would never go more than a day without it, and so
Right?
that allows me to really promote it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, .com stay healthy is the code you can put for that
Nice.
discount.
Right on. Oh, and
Thank you.
I have, yeah, I'm going to tell your peeps what I have coming up. I have a holistic fitness video library that is going to be live in June. And this fitness library is not only exercise videos, I also have coaching videos in there. So after it's been almost 10 years of personal training and coaching. I have a lot of common questions, and there are lots of questions that lots of people ask every day. And that's going to be in there too. So this is going to be an ultimate supportive library, and I can't wait to bring it to everyone.
So exciting. Omega Fit Life official. And I would just say to anybody watching who's from ours, following Omega on Instagram is really, really fun. Not only is she drop dead gorgeous, actually hilarious. And also really, really educated. I'm super inspired. I really find the creativity of the way that you're putting fitness out there to make it accessible for people
I'm kind of
like
losing
me who
you,
maybe don't
Ariel.
necessarily gravitate towards
Oh,
such a
I see your
like a
face.
functioned or like strategized type of fitness.
I think we lost your volume completely for a while there, but I think you were saying some really nice things to me. and I appreciate it. But yeah, I don't hear you anymore, so I'm gonna end this live. I think we did really good. And oh, I love you. Thanks for watching. Bye.